Welcome to the Joyride podcast. I am so excited that you are here with me today. My name is Rebecca Joy. I'm a life coach, a motivational speaker, and your host. This is a space where we get real, we get raw, and we certainly are getting very honest with ourselves. Here we're talking about real growth. I'm talking the kind that changes how you see yourself, how you trust yourself, and how you decide to move throughout your life. We are exploring confidence, embodiment, intuition, identity, wellness, and the inner work behind real life transformation. You do not need to have it all figured out to be here because trust me, I certainly don't. There is no pressure to perform or become something or someone else. This podcast is meant to feel like home. It's a place where you can come back to and settle in and feel seen and celebrated and really reconnect with what matters most to you. So if you are ready to live with more alignment, certainty, and self-trust, you're exactly in the right place. So let's begin. Hello. Welcome back to the Joyride podcast. Thank you for tuning in for today's episode. We took a little bit of a break over the past month. At first, the break was not intentional, and then it became intentional. And I want to talk about why I decided to take a break and step away for a little bit. This has been a challenging past month for me, and I usually am the person to share whatever it is that I am navigating through in the present moment. I do believe that it's one of my gifts and strengths that I'm here to share with other people in this lifetime. Because let me tell you something, when I was starting on my personal development journey, I was just really up in arms about the fact that I was constantly seeing so many people after the fact, like after they had gone through their crazy challenges, their struggles in life, and like now they're experiencing success and now they're able to talk about it, which is something that I think my perspective has massively shifted on because I have become more private in a lot of areas in my life, and I don't think that I necessarily used to be like that. I think I have always viewed myself as being someone that's like, we're here, we're going to talk about it, we're going to share about it, and I want to be that person. You know, I think it's great that we have so many people that we can look to who are now on the other side of their darkness, right? Whether you're seeing that online, on social media, or in person, you know, people just have a tendency of going MIA when they are going through really challenging times in their life, rightfully so. I totally understand and I totally get that. But I think for me, I've always been someone who naturally just like wants to let people in on the process, because that is how I express myself. So this past month, I was processing a lot. I was not expecting everything to come up, but it did. And I found myself really wanting to just like take a step back and evaluate what's going on. Why am I doing this? Why do I feel called to share this? And am I doing this simply out of obligation? Or am I doing this out of, no, I love to do this and I want to share what I have to say with people? So we're going to be getting into that today, and just a bunch of other lessons and, you know, things that I have been navigating through in life recently around like home and safety and security and family. I do think that it's very timely with us being in Taurus season right now, which is all about like our physical bodies and finding safety from within and finding our own sense of roots, you know, those roots stemming from an internal place, but also like finding your roots externally in life, whether that's like your home, the city that you're living in, your type of lifestyle, your health and wellness, your job, like really finding a sense of stability and security in your life. And so much of that has been what has been coming up for me lately. And now that I'm on the other side of a lot of these things, I feel, you know, really, really ready to be able to share all of that with you, because that is the point of, this space that I have within my podcast. And I really did miss coming on here and sharing, but I'm also learning in real time how to detach from a lot of my, passionate endeavors that have fallen under the umbrella of Rebecca Joy's coaching business. And I'm not going to lie, it's been hard because I've realized how freaking attached, my identity is to all of these sectors that fall under this business category. And I know that I'm not the only one. I know that so many of you listening to this episode right now probably feel the same in a lot of areas in your life, if not just like the career area. I have been running my coaching business for over 3 years. I have really run my own businesses for the past 6 years since 2020. So I'm navigating a lot of new changes and shifts in my life right now. And as you know, I'm on this journey of moving to Miami and starting a whole new life over for myself. So I am at the very end of my North Carolina chapter, and so much has come up for me. So let's first get into that, because again, I think this theme around finding safety and security within yourself and your home and finding your roots is really important for me to touch upon right now. I moved in to one of my friends' places here in North Carolina at the end of March. And I knew that when I came back from Miami, I was just so beyond ready for a new sense of environment in my life. I knew that I needed change. I'm like, okay, I've been living at my parents' place since August, and I know that Miami and me moving is on the way and things are in motion, but I am someone who is always craving change. I love that I am someone who can easily adapt and shapeshift, and I just love newness. And not just in the sense of finding new coffee shops and a new home. I love getting new clothes to wear and new makeup. And for me, it's really a deep-rooted sense of self-expression. So I moved in with my friend. What's today? We are at the beginning of May. So it's been a little over a month. And it just is funny how the universe will give you exactly what you need to see at the right time, because there have been so many times throughout my journey where the timing of things has felt really cruel, where it's almost like I was ready for this 6 months ago and now you're just giving it to me. What in the fuck? It just is not fair. But because I'm practicing so much detachment in my life right now, as I make this leap to South Florida, I am learning just how attached I have been to so many aspects of my life. Timing being one of those. I put in this effort, I do this, and I just expect this result right here, right now, So moving in with my friend a few weeks in after I got settled and moved all my stuff in, and I was working on the new era and all this stuff, once I came back down to earth and was okay, I'm here, I had so much clarity around the fact that I, in my life right now, am so ungrounded and I'm so unrooted. And I knew this from the get-go. I knew that moving out of Austin would shake me internally, because I had built an entirely new set of friends and community, and I built a new life for myself over the span of 6 years, which is what you do when you move to a new city, right? So I knew that all of this had been taken away from me, or that sounds kind of bad, taken away from me, but I made the decision to move, so I knew that I no longer had that in my life. But I have been in such a deep state of resting and healing and really doing so much inner work and rebuilding a whole new set of beliefs for myself and a whole new foundation, that I don't think I fully realized how much I need a sense of community, and I need my friends, and I need, I'm just at that point in my life where I'm I need these things to feel good, and I have been without them for 9 months, and I'm at the point now where I just can't take it any longer. So that was really hard. It was clarity that I needed to see, and it was really nice to see that in a sense, but also it was hard to accept that, like, I just feel so ungrounded in my life right now. You know, I've been living at my parents' house. It's not my house. I didn't grow up in this home. I'm living in a beautiful space, but it's not mine. I don't have all my things here. I'm using someone else's stuff. And then I'm exploring the possibility of, you know, staying in yet another place that's not mine for the next few months when I move to Miami, so I can figure out, okay, exactly where do I want to put down roots? You know, where do I want to get an apartment and all this stuff? There are so many moving pieces and parts, right? And so I am someone who, like, I am a homebody. I take really good care of my home. I take really good care of my physical body, and my home and my roots are very, very important to me. So that sense of clarity coming up, like, holy shit, I'm so ungrounded and I'm so unrooted, was a hard pill to swallow, because you could look at it from two perspectives. You could look at it as, look at all the things that I don't have in my life right now, but you can also look at it from the perspective of, like, okay, I don't have all of these things, the community, you know, the resonance that I share with people, you know, living around people who are like me and have the same values of me, and we can, you know, we're just in alignment with, like, our interests and our preferences and where we're at in life and all that stuff. I don't have my, like, go-to places that I love to go to. There are so many, like, simple things that we all take for granted when you have established yourself, you know, wherever you're living, right? And, like, I for the most part, really, I feel like I'm not a nomad in the sense of, like, I have people in my inner circle who live the nomadic life, but, like, to my core, I need to feel rooted and I need to feel grounded. But with that comes the element of understanding that, you know, as long as you have a sense of internal security and stability within yourself, you will be able to create that. You will be able to create that wherever you go. And so even though that was something that for a few weeks I got my period, and you know, like, when you get your period, everything just seems like so daunting, and everything is so extreme and so heightened and all of that. And so I just felt like so out of sorts. Like, you know, on one end of the spectrum, I'm like, I don't have these things that I need that make me me. And so how can I even operate as myself right now? And on the other end of the spectrum, I'm sitting here like, I am so freaking excited to be able to start over again and to create a new sense of home. Because while I'm living here in North Carolina, I have really done everything in my power that I possibly can to build a sense of security and safety. Because as I mentioned, that's very, very important to me. So whether that's, like, working out at gyms that I feel good in, or going to workout classes, or going to, like, you know, regular coffee shops, or just, like, frequenting places, it's important for us to remember that those simple things actually create a sense of home for us. And I have done everything in my power that I have here to give to create that sense of security and stability for myself. And I'm at the point where I'm just like, you know what? It is what it is, and I've done everything that I can, and I don't have all of these things. And I'm also not putting myself out there in ways that I would have in the past. Like, anyone who knows me personally knows what an outgoing person I am, and so many of my best friends I met from me introducing myself to them, whether that was going shopping or in a workout class or just, like, out and about in the world, you know. And I think it's important for me to talk about this because I meet so many people in their 20s, 30s who often tell me, you know, it's so hard to meet people when you're an adult. And I'm like, no, it's not. It's really not that hard. You just have to be willing to extend the olive branch. You have to be willing to put yourself out there And I will say it's very unsettling for me right now because I just have no interest in doing that here in North Carolina because I feel so disconnected from this place. But with that being said, I'm so looking forward to stepping back home into myself, where I get to introduce myself to people and put myself out there and be seen and build new friendships and a new sense of community for me. So, I think during this time, it's more so of a reflection moment for me to be able to share that with you for wherever you're at in your life. Having people around you that have the same interests and preferences as you, and people who are going through similar life stages as you, and building a community and going to these places where you frequent all the time. It may not seem like that big of a deal, but coming from someone who hasn't had that for 9 months, I'm telling you, it just brings a sense of joy, and it brings a sense of safety and peace and stability to us that I think a lot of people just are overlooking in their life. Because I am someone who puts a lot of priority on my physical health, on my mental health, but I will make do anywhere that I go, and I know that that's a gift and a skill, right? Because it's like, okay, the gyms here aren't at the caliber that I have experienced in the past, like where's my Equinox? Where are like my super beautiful Pilates studios here? I don't have that. So I have to be adaptable, and I have to kind of like shift my preferences on things. But as long as I have the things that make me feel secure and make me feel safe, I can say wholeheartedly that like I can create a sense of safety and stability within myself. And I don't know where you're at in your life personally, but for me, as I'm making this big transition to moving to a new state and creating a whole new life for myself, it's really important for me to remember, and to be able to share this with you, to create that sense of foundation and stability within yourself, because things are always changing in life. Whether you quit your job and you are starting at a new company and you don't know anyone, or you're moving to a whole new state with your partner, you're relocating, or you're ready to start a family, like you need to ask yourself, what is it that I can do for myself internally that's going to bring me a sense of safety and stability, even if all of my ducks aren't in a row, even if I'm in a transition in my life where I don't have everything figured out, because that's me right now. There are so many moving pieces and parts to my life right now, and I can easily sit here and be like, holy shit, like I have like nothing of my own right now, and this feels off, and I don't like this. And then I can easily go into like freeze mode because I get so overwhelmed. I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't have my own home. I don't have my own place. I don't have my community and my friends. And there's so much shifting within my career. There are so many things, right? But I can always come back home to myself and be like, okay, I prioritize the foundational things for me, which are my sleep and staying connected with people, even if it's long distance, making sure that I'm moving all the time, going to the gym and doing my workouts, making sure that I'm getting out in nature. And I love Taurus season because it truly reminds us to come back down to earth. Like if you need to, go out and do some grounding, put your feet on the grass. I was in not South Florida. I was in Florida last week for my brother's wedding. And I just love who I am in Florida. Florida is my happy place, and it brings out like the best sides of me. And it just was so nice to go to the beach multiple days and just have my feet in the sand. And for me, like the beach is the most grounding thing ever. But something that came up for me that I wanted to share about in today's episode was dealing with family dynamics when you're in a transitory phase of your life where you feel like I don't have any of my shit figured out. So before I went on this trip, I definitely had some anxiety around seeing some of my family members that I have not seen since like 2018. Like 8 years, which is crazy. I was very excited to see them, but also nervous because I am in a big transition period of my life where, like, personally, as we just talked about, I don't feel like I have a good sense of grounding. I do not feel rooted right now. There are so many things in flux and so many things that are changing. And I was trying to not get in my head about it, but, you know, growing up, when I would go to these family gatherings and we would have dinner parties, like, I was always trying new shit growing up. I'm a manifesting generator. I'm a Gemini moon. Like, so much of my 20s was just spent experimenting, and like literally a new passion or hobby would come up and I would throw myself into it, which I just look back now and I'm so freaking happy that I did that, even though so much of my 20s was so confusing and there were so many like disconnected dots. It was like this season I was doing this and then 6 months later I was doing that. And I know from an outside perspective, that can look very chaotic. That can look like someone who just like can't get their shit together, can't get it figured out. And I'm still figuring my shit out. Like, I'm in a new position in my life where I'm like, I'm starting over again. And I know that I'm not starting over because I have so much more wisdom, you know, and I have just like so much more, what's the right word? I just feel like I have so many more tools in my toolbox and so many more resources. And I just have like an added extra layers of armor to me as I navigate this new chapter of my life, and I open myself up to meeting my forever partner and build a life with them and all these things, right? So from an outside perspective, when you are someone that is choosing time and time again to not walk the conventional path, to not do the things that everyone else around you is doing, you have to realize that it is going to bring you feelings of feeling unsettled and anxiety. And, you know, you're going to constantly question yourself. Am I doing the right thing? What the fuck am I doing? How do I figure this out? You know, for so many years, I spent so much time over analyzing my every move. And even though I was brave and courageous and bold and I wasn't afraid to go out and try things, you know, I was also analyzing myself all the fucking time. And now that I'm in my 30s, you know, and I've done so many things, I don't regret anything. I don't regret trying all of these different, you know, things out. I don't regret trying on things for size and saying, does this work for me? Does this not work for me? How do I feel? Does this make me feel good? You know, I really don't envy people who got a job straight out of college and then just worked their way up. I definitely had moments in my 20s where I was like, fuck me. Like, why can't I just be that type of person that just moves from point A to B to C to D? And so because, you know, I am someone who lives a very unconventional life and I do things my own way, that's a manifesting generator effect. We're like, fuck this shit. We're going to create our new path. You know, I definitely dealt with a lot of anxiety when I would see family or seeing friends after years and they're telling you, or they're asking like, what's going on in your life and all these things. So before going to Florida, I was feeling anxious about it. But I was so pleasantly surprised at what happened this past week, having so many different conversations with cousins and just like people that are in my family. Everyone was so pleasant and so empowering. And I pride myself in being a very authentic person. And, you know, being a Virgo, I know this about myself. I can easily first notice the things that need fixing, the things that are negative, the things that aren't pure. And sometimes, you know, I sit here and I'm like, man, like, I really hope that my podcast episodes and I really hope that what I share on social media, you know, doesn't feel like Debbie Downer energy, because I'm always like growing and going through challenges and struggles in my life and evolving. And, you know, I sit with myself and sometimes I'm like, damn, like, I really hope that, you know, I get to this point in my life where things feel a lot easier and things are a lot easier. But I also notice that I've never shied away from telling you the truth. I've never been one to be like, let me just fucking sugarcoat things and say that like everything's positive and everything's amazing. And, you know, I definitely also had those phases of my life where I was only focusing on the positive all the time. And being positive is like, I always want to be a source of positivity and optimism for other people, 100%. But I have really started to integrate new practices in my life, one of those being my daily journaling practice, that, you know, this practice has really taught me that it's okay to fucking admit all of the dark, heavy shit that's happening in your life. You know, you can't just like be sitting over here being so like positive, you know, toxic positivity and just like only focus on like, yeah, everything's great when it's fucking not, right? Like, I think a lot of people do this when you break up or something really traumatic happens to you in your life and you're like, I'm fine. But at the end of the day, you're actually not fine. So having these conversations with my family members, they were all so positive and they were all so encouraging. And I was like, yeah, listen, like the past few years of my life have been fucking hard. Like I'm not going to lie about that. Like it has been, you know, a season of like so much struggle, but it's also been beautiful and it's been really illuminating. And I will always say that there have been so many good things that have happened for me over the past few years. But nonetheless, it's been fucking hard. And I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh yeah, like everything's been amazing. Everything's been great. Because from an outside perspective, you know, so many people over the past few years have been like, oh my God, you look like you're thriving and this and that. And I'm like, bro, you think that because I decide to show up and be seen on social media, which is something that not a lot of people can do. Like, so many people are genuinely scared of being seen and showing up as themselves. And I, you know, am only sharing a sliver of my life, but like I'm showing up and I'm putting in effort and I'm, you know, making it a point to want to be seen, right? So having these conversations, I was reminded that you may feel like you're in a season of your life when you're trying to figure your shit out and your ducks are everywhere. You've got a duck here, you've got a duck there, you've got a duck all the way across the fucking pond. Like, your ducks are not in a row. It may feel like, oh my God, I just want to disappear and I almost just want to like not be out there until I get all of my shit together. I have felt that way several times during the span of these 9 months living in North Carolina. I'm like, I kind of just want to like go MIA and then just like pop the fuck out once like everything is perfect and it's all put together. But there's something in me that's like, you can't do that. You know, I can take breaks. I can keep things more private to myself. You know, I don't need to share every single facet of my journey, but I also think it's really important for people to be able to hear what I have to say, because I have been through a lot of shit, whether that's like crazy debt or like things not working out with my career or like crazy relationship stuff or just like, you know, dealing with like inner child family stuff. There's been a lot of stuff that I've had to deal with, you know, but my family members reminded me, you know, that I have this dream for my life. And so I'm sharing with them, you know, I'm moving to Miami really soon. There are a lot of things in flux and a lot of things changing, but I am so excited to move to Miami. And I fully believe that my husband is there and I'm going to meet him and my life is going to drastically change and so many doors will open for me. I fully believe in that. I know that that is my truth and I'm not afraid to admit that. And there have been so many chapters of my life where I was very scared to vocalize my plans. I was scared to vocalize my vision for my life. And, you know, life will reflect back to you the energy that you are putting out there. And I was met with so much positivity. Every single person that I talked to was like, you know what? As long as you keep your eye on the prize, it will happen. It will manifest. Like, your dreams are your dreams. You just have to make sure that you are looking at life, you know, as a cup that is half filled and not a cup that is half empty. And there have been so many moments living here in North Carolina where I am looking at the cup half empty. And it's hard, right? Because this, I know with 100% certainty that like North Carolina is not a place where I feel like myself. And so because of that, it's like if you understand this, you understand it. If you are someone that is very, 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 very sensitive to your environment, you will understand what I'm saying. I am that person. I'm a Cancer rising. I'm super fucking sensitive to environments. And that's why I know that I thrive in certain environments and my life just like expands and explodes. And then there have been times throughout my life where I feel like my energy is being constricted and I don't feel safe to express myself and things aren't happening for me no matter how hard I try. And that's not an excuse. That is me simply understanding the energetics of how I work. But it's really important to remember that, if you have a dream, if you have a vision and you have a goal, it doesn't matter what setbacks you have had. It doesn't matter if you are going through yet another phase of your life where you are figuring your shit out. Because from an outside perspective, anyone who truly loves you and cares for you and supports you just wants you to be able to live your dreams. I was like so in awe seeing my cousins who are all grown up and seeing my brother's friends who in my head, they're like forever 15 and yet they're only like 2 years younger than me. I'm like, oh my God, you are all like so wise and so sweet and such wonderful people. And you all have your jobs and your professions and so many of you are engaged and you have your families and your kids. And it's just like so wild to me because, I haven't seen these people in 8-10 years. And here they are living their lives. And I am so focused on my life that, as we all should be, I'm not thinking about my brother's friends and what's happening. Of course, like I'll see a photo here and there, but it really is crazy when you see these people that you grew up with and these people that were an integral part of your life 8-10 years later. You're like, holy shit, you're like all grown up now. And it just is crazy how life is always lifing, right? But throughout the span of the weekend, witnessing my little brother get married to the love of his life, who I just like love and adore. My sister-in-law is just the best. I feel so blessed and so grateful that he found her because I just love her to death. And I'm just obsessed with the two of them individually and together. And having so many of his friends come up to me and just say such nice things about me and just like all good vibes. It was really important for me to notice how much I can be in my own bubble. And I know that you can too if you are in a phase of your life where you're struggling and you're working super hard and things aren't happening the way that you envision them. I want to be a source of strength and optimism for you and be able to give you a new perspective because it just is so easy for you to get sucked into your own world and only see one perspective. Like my main goal of living here in North Carolina has been, how the fuck do I get out of here? And it's been really hard because again, I have not felt like my full self in 9 months. I, in a lot of ways, have felt like, where is this going? Everything is feeling so non-linear right now. Am I being pushed back? Am I behind? When will I be able to move forward again? It can be really hard, really frustrating, really daunting. But seeing these people, after so many years, I'm like, Rebecca, 9 months is nothing. And yeah, this period in my life has been so necessary for so many reasons. And I know how much happier I'm going to be in the very, very near future. So I need to make sure that I keep my eyes on the prize and understand that like my vision and my dream is so unique to me. And for so many years, I definitely would question myself on my dreams and my vision because they did feel so out there, when you're surrounded by people who, their dream is to like get a really good job, save money, buy a house, get married and have kids. And you're over here like, well, I want to create my own business and I want to do something that's fulfilling and help people. And, it can feel like this tug of war. Like, are my dreams really good? Are they okay? And now my dreams to that more conventional person can sound kind of crazy. Like when most people hear that I'm moving to Miami, they think party, they think raging, they think like, oh my God, this is such an expensive city. And like, I genuinely think that most people that I tell this to, you know, people that are strangers, they're just like, what the fuck? They don't get it. And the people that are close to me, you know, support me and love me. But I do think that there's this fundamental disconnect where they're just, a lot of my friends are married and they're settled down and they have kids and they're living the suburban life. I do have a handful of friends that aren't like that, but I also am really looking forward to actively putting myself in communities where people are more like me for where I'm at in this stage of my life. And that doesn't mean that I don't love and respect these people, but that is a dream of mine that I have right now. So I think it's really cool to be able to get to this point in your journey where you can confidently be like, yeah, it is taking a little bit longer than I thought, and I do not have my shit all figured out, and I've gone through many highs and lows, but I have this dream, I have this vision, and I am getting one step closer to that dream, you know, coming to life every single day, because that is what I'm choosing to focus on. And the people that are in your corner will love you and respect you for it, because at the end of the day, all of our dreams and visions for our life are going to be so unique. They are all so different. I think it's super fucking lame. You know, I love being such a quote unquote different type of person. I love doing my own thing. I love creating my own path. And even though at times it's felt so unsettling and I've been like, God, like when can I just get it right? When can things just finally pan out for me, you know? I know that everything in due time will make sense. And it always does, because looking back at it, you're like, oh, I understand why this didn't work out. Why that relationship didn't work. Why that job didn't work. Why that didn't work out for me, even though at the time I wanted it so desperately. And yeah, sometimes the timing of things can feel really fucking cruel. Like lately, I've had so many conversations where it's felt like, oh my God, am I just supposed to not give effort anymore? Because like, why aren't these things working out for me? When you learn to stay true to that vision and true to your dream and like actively work on detaching from the timing of things, from, you know, detaching from this need to have this exact result, you know, I do this and it has to look that way. You will get to where you want to go if you are persistent and if you are consistent and if you are grateful for whatever it is that you have right now. You will get to where you want to go. And it's important for me to be able to remind you of that, because I know how many listeners I have of this podcast that are constantly, you know, chiming in and checking in and saying like, this was so relatable. I needed to hear this. You know, I am really excited to be on the other side of things when I can share about my partner and building that life together and having, you know, just more success in my career and having things feel more rooted, feel more grounded, feel more settled for me in my life. I can't wait to share about that. But I'm also currently in a phase of my life where I am navigating that bridge to make it happen. And yes, I have my days where I'm like, fuck me, I want to throw in the towel. But because I've done so much work personally and I feel this duty to be able to show up, not just for myself, but to be able to remind other people that like, for sure, you can have your moments, you can have your days where you're like, fuck this is hard, why is this not happening for me? But you can train yourself to constantly get back up. You don't need to constantly be a fighter. I have been a fighter for so many years of my life. And now I'm like, you know what? I know that this is going to happen. I know that this is going to manifest because I feel so damn connected to my life, to my path, to where I'm going. And I don't know what's going to happen in 5 years. I know what's going to happen in the next few years. I fully see that vision for myself in my life. And after that, you know what? I know that I will get clarity in due time. So I wanted to remind you of that because I sense that a lot of people are in similar positions right now where things just feel very ungrounded. There's a lot of unknown happening right now, and rightfully so. We stepped into a 1 year. It's the year of the fire horse. This year is not the year where like everything is coming together all at once. No, this is the year of new beginnings and initiations. When you start anything new, whether it's a new job, a new business, a new relationship, a new health journey, a new spiritual journey, new anything, it can feel confusing as fuck. It can feel so overwhelming. Personally, anytime that I had like a new job growing up or anything new, I put myself in a new environment, going to camp, going on a trip, I would cry because I would be so overwhelmed because I was so used to my routine. I was so used to the comfort of knowing what comes next. I was so used to having that sense of control. If you're a Virgo, or if you have strong Virgo placements, you know that we have a tricky relationship with control. But I have been taught, especially over the past few years, how much we all need to learn how to surrender, because we are not in control of everything. We're definitely not in control when it comes to the timing of our lives. And so the quicker that you realize, I can work towards the things that I want, but I have to understand that most likely they're not going to come when I want them. I mean, how often do we hear about people who have been trying to get pregnant for years and years and years? Like, if you want to, you can find so many stories on social media. Whenever I read a story like that, I'm always like, it is all in divine timing. And it's hard because, when you want something so badly, you can feel really fucking desperate for it. And the universe does not like desperation. And I have to remind myself of that. I'm like, I'm really trying not to be desperate for this right now. But like, the situation that I'm in right now really fucking sucks. And I understand that. And I just want myself to feel good. And I'm not going to lie. So many times I'm like, I feel sad for myself because I don't feel good, like fundamentally good, and I want to be able to feel fundamentally good. When I'm in Florida, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm a completely different person. My persona, my energy is a 180. And I've realized that for as long as I'm living here, that's something that I need to accept within myself. I will always make an effort to do whatever it is that I need to do to make myself feel good, whether that's a workout or going to get a coffee or calling a friend. But like, I've talked about this so many times on different podcast episodes. When you are someone that's so sensitive to your environment, it's not an excuse. It's just energy is fucking real and it doesn't lie. And that is why so many people, when you're from a small town, you move to a big city and your whole life changes because you're in proximity of people who are dreaming bigger, who are doing big things. And I love that. That's why I am moving to such a big, vibrant, beautiful, expansive city. I feed off of that energy. As human beings, we feed off of energy. And when you're so in tune and you have done a lot of work on yourself, you can tell when the energy is off. You can tell, when you're living this life that is not aligned for you, and you can tell when you're living in alignment, even if things aren't happening as fast as you would like them. So I hope that this episode gives you a sense of peace and reminds you that you can always create a sense of safety and security within yourself. And it is okay to not have everything figured out. We are about to enter into summer, which is the best season, in my opinion. And summer is full of magic and so many just like serendipitous things happen in the summer. It's the time of like, I just feel like freedom and expansiveness, and people are going on trips, and just the energy of everyone feels more free. And I love that so, so much. So I'm looking forward to so much new change happening for not just me, but for you as well. I really see that happening, especially this summer, with all of the energy and just like things that have shifted and taken place for all of us collectively. I think it's going to be such an important summer for all of us, because if you are figuring things out and if you are starting over in your life, I know that this summer will bring you a sense of peace and security, and like just this summer will give you so many new answers to problems or to things that you have been in search for a very long time. I fully feel that for me. I fully feel that for you. And I'm excited for us. So that is just a little update on what has happened because I have been gone for the past month. It was a necessary break for me. It feels really, really good to be back. And I'm excited to share more of what's to come over the next few weeks. So we are going to end the episode here. I love you so much, and I appreciate you always for coming back to this podcast time and time again. I would so appreciate it if you left a review of this podcast wherever you are listening to it. And if you feel like you got something from this episode, if you could share it with someone, share it with your social community, whatever it is, it would mean so much to me. So thank you for being here, for tuning in to the Joyride podcast, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye.